Again, thanks very much for chatting to us today. It comes with the announcement that Soltex has been moved from March, the new date in March, to back to November. Do you feel the decision was made at the right time to do that?
Yeah, we do, because what we've tried to do all along with the first decision we took it in good time to provide clarity and certainty, really. I think the thing with this pandemic, the only certainty has been uncertainty, and we're trying to take that away from the market. So, the honest answer to that question is yes, we do. We didn't want to go through to January next year with exhibitors thinking what's happening next. And as you can tell from the recent sort of lockdowns that have started to happen more at a local level, I think it's just added to that erosion of confidence, unfortunately. So we're acting responsibly.
Sure. And it's early days, but what reaction has there been from exhibitors so far? Have they welcomed the decision?
Yeah, I'd say the buzzword that we're getting back is sensible decision. Thank you. And some have said it's expected as well. So I think everybody understands the situation we're in. From our perspective, we're ready, willing and able to run a trade show. We could run it next week. It's just the pandemic is defeating us at the moment. And I think we have to restart, regroup and provide a safe show which gives the return on investment for exhibitors and a safe environment for everybody to feel confident to go to and be part of.
Did you or would you ever consider a virtual show?
Well, we looked at that as part of the questioning that we did, and it's really interesting. I can tell you that less than 20% of our respondents were interested in the virtual show approach, and we know that others have testing that methodology out. Obviously, the Amenity Forum recently took place. I don't know what the returns were on that. So I think we're always look towards new opportunities, but I think what we've got to remember is Soltex was a successful show. The show that we just had pre-pandemic was our most successful since moving to the NEC. So over 9,000 visitors and over 400 brands there. So it's a good show. It's just not able to run because of the conditions that we're facing at the moment.
Yeah. So with the NEC currently being used as a Nightingale hospital, is there any contingency in place if that should still be the case next year? Is there an alternative venue?
Yeah, I'm happy to clear that one up because we asked exactly, that was probably the first question we asked of the NEC ourselves. So the Nightingale Hospital at the moment is not up and running in Birmingham, but it can be brought back into life within a 48-hour period. But more recently, what the NEC did with government is they had a point where the NEC were basically talking about how they could get back to events. This is pre-October the 1st. And government were talking about a go live date of October 1st for events. And they'd worked out that they could still host the Nightingale Hospital, and it wouldn't be for COVID related patients. It would be for the overflow of other illnesses, etc., to cope with demand. Because in central Birmingham, actually, the facilities to deal with COVID are already in the hospitals, so it wouldn't work moving them out of those hospitals. So they are able, because of the nature of the NEC site, to actually open for events, and if they need to, have the hospital, but it would be a separate entity, and you as a visitor wouldn't come into contact with hospital patients, for example. They can control the site. So that was obviously really important to us as somebody investing as an organizer on behalf of our marketplace to work that through. And the NEC are one of the foremost venues, as you know, across the country for this type of event. So we've worked with them hand in hand on making sure that all the protocols that would have need to have been applied to protect people were in place. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been prepared to run an event under any other circumstances.
So that's
a lot of the mitigating action has already taken place.
Okay. Having gone a year without both trade shows in the UK, is there any concern that people have started doing business in a different way, and that they might, so that the number of visitors might fall because people are doing business differently?
Well, again, the returns that we've got from the research show real confidence in returning to an indoor trade show. So in our case, it was over 86% when we asked the question whether you like indoor as opposed to outdoor. 86% said return to indoor. So we know there's a thirst for the trade show. And like I said, the model we had was working. We spent 5 good years, making it work and trying to enhance what we do there. And it's really interesting that even with the lack of confidence people have because of the pandemic and the all-prevailing circumstances of that at the moment, that people want to get back to normal. And I think, unfortunately, March just seems a bit early at the moment, which is why we've made the call now. And we want to work on a show that people will have confidence. And I think by taking a decision to move it, back to its original date line, will help with that. But obviously, I'm not the scientist. I'm relying, like everybody else is, on the scientists coming through for us and making us all feel a bit more confident about going anywhere at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. How important is Soltex financially to yourselves?
Well, I think everybody knows that both ourselves and Bega have relied massively on the income that we get from the trade shows that we operate. So we will be taking a massive hit, and we've got to work our way through that. But we've got a very proactive board. We don't sort of sit there and wait for things to happen. We look at all the scenarios and we plan for all those eventualities. And we've also built up some good reserves by running our business diligently. So it doesn't necessarily impact on our services. We are looking at a restructure, which we're completing at the moment. But the impact on us potentially in terms of our other products and services is only limited really by the pandemic. So, for example, our training courses, which you can deliver face-to-face, you now can't because of restrictions. So we've pivoted towards the online, and you'll be getting another press release from us soon, which is about our online level 2 learning qualifications. So I think using that digital space, adapting to the circumstances and the environment that you're now with, and unlikely to change back from, I think, means that we're partly digital in our offering and partly face-to-face. And a large part of what we've done traditionally has been face-to-face events, whether it's the awards, whether it's what we've done in the past, IG and actions at a more local level, or Soltex, which obviously takes the headlines most of the time.
So do you feel your activity with members has suffered as a result of all this, or have you had to scale back your activity at all?
No, if anything, we've accelerated it. So we've been using the power of Zoom or Teams, and we've got regular calls with various groups in our membership. And if anything, it's brought us a bit closer together. All we're doing is having the conversation without getting in the car or on public transport. So the contact points are still there. But I think, yourself, Kerry, this is an outdoor industry where people like to get out and about and meet and greet people. So as soon as we can start to do that, we will, obviously. But until that point, we have to sort of adapt like everybody else.
There's more and more rumbles as a result of this, from people wanting sort of one industry show and even one representative body. How do you feel about that?
Well, we've always been open. I mean, I was at the forefront of those last discussions. I've been at the forefront of quite a lot of discussions through the years in this role. We've always been open-minded. I don't get any feeling that's a discussion that is live at the moment. But I think we're pragmatists and we're realists. One trade show, well, if the model fits and it works for both bodies, then that discussion can always happen. But I think, a lot of things have got to happen before you can get to that point. You say a lot of rumblings. I hear a lot of people who are quite happy with both because they've both got distinct audiences, they've both got good markets, and they've both proven themselves. So the crossover you get from both trade shows isn't 100%. And I'm sure Jim would say the same thing. They've both developed quite a unique footprint for themselves, and they've both proven that they can coexist as well. So if it wasn't for the pandemic, would people ask the question? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think it's more from exhibitors, isn't it, and manufacturers that obviously just trying to keep costs down, and one show, I guess, would do that in terms of their requirements. But as for visitors, I think
it
there are
depends
very
on
two
the market.
different.
Yeah, it depends on the market, and as I say, there are lots of opportunities to do trade shows, and some of the companies out there do more than just sort of BTME and Soltex. So we know, for example, Lamra would be another one that you'd probably put into that bracket. But they each seem to have their own distinct markets as well, and I would say I completely understand the sentiment of that, and that some people take that view. Like I said, we're always open-minded, but it's got to be, something that is viable for the organisers as much as it is for the exhibitors.
And did the survey bring any other trends that people are thinking?
I think it would be the things you'd probably expect, in all honesty. But probably the one thing we didn't expect was the overwhelming support for indoor as opposed to outdoor or the virtual that you mentioned earlier, because I think that's been kind of a natural conversation to have. And I still think that, that you can do a mix. I mean, I think throughout a 12-month calendar period, people deserve choice. And one of the things we were conscious of and actually want to do is more regional events. As an entity. So whether that's a mix of purely outdoor or, you can get hybrid venues, I think we're all going to have to go back to the drawing board and look at it, and then come through with new opportunities and new incentives for people.